The demand to purchase a home has never been greater. People working from home as a result of the pandemic, rising home and rent prices, interest rates, and limited inventory has created a buying frenzy. The market has seen an increase in the number of corporate investors and want-to-be investors purchasing homes to rehab and flip. Hi, I'm Ann Terry, and welcome to Ask Ann Anything, where I answer all your financial questions about real estate and home ownership. Remember the saying, buyer beware? That could not be truer when it comes to purchasing a home, whether it is new construction or a resale. Due diligence is the key, and that begins with a home inspection. I'm often asked what is the difference between an appraisal and a home inspection, and if it is necessary to do both. There is a clear distinction between the two. An appraisal focuses on value, whereas a home inspection focuses on the condition of the house. An appraisal is required by the lender and is paid in advance by the home buyer, whereas a home inspection is optional and it is paid by the homeowner whenever you schedule the inspection. The appraisal determines the loan amount, whereas the home inspection has no effect on the loan amount. With an appraisal, the homeowner is not present, but with a home inspection, the homeowner can and should be present. And lastly, with the appraisal, the report communicates the results, whereas with a home inspection, the inspector educates and shares with the home buyer the results. My special guest today is Jacques Mountain, owner and lead inspector for Dream Home Inspections. He's going to share important information about the inspection process, and he's going to show you pictures of horrific scenes he has found at homes he has inspected. After this, I'm sure you'll agree that you should never buy a home without getting a home inspection by a qualified home inspector. We are so fortunate to have Jacques Mountain, who's going to share a wealth of information with you to help you to understand why you better not buy that house unless you have it inspected. Jacques, I bet you have some stories to tell.
Always.
I know you do, and I know we're going to hear one. You know, it's so funny. One question that people will ask me, they were like, well, I'm buying a new home.
Oh, wow.
Do I need an inspection? It's brand new.
Oh, of course. Because people build homes and people make mistakes. And so, you know, as we tell them in the home buying seminars, you know, we always do our little joke. How many of y'all have a job? And everybody say, oh, I got a job. And I say, how many of y'all ever made a mistake on your job? Okay, so the people out here building homes, they make mistakes too. You know, they have families, they have Facebook, they got Instagram, they have other interests besides just the home. Thus being why we go to new construction and we find beer bottles. And we find cans behind the walls and we find stuff in the insulation because they are doing other things besides just building a home. Okay, so going back to that, I think back to a situation where you and I had something we were working on. Yes.
And, you know, I'll say at the onset, you have home inspectors and you have home inspectors, because one thing I always appreciate is that you go a step above. But do you remember this was the case in a particular part of Georgia? We won't mention too much about who, what, when, where. But it was very interesting that when you went out to do your home inspection, you sent up a drone to look at the roof. But in this case, your drone didn't have to do much work because you were able to look at the shingles on the roof and tell that they were out of a line, if I'm using the correct terminology. So when you wrote up your report and you told me about those shingles that needed to be replaced, the builder had a fit.
Right.
As a matter of fact, he would not replace them, so I went out there. And he was very disrespectful to me. This is a building superintendent for a major builder who resented the fact that we had a home inspector who questioned the roof shingles. So much so that he turned his back and wouldn't even talk to me and told my clients, y'all are who I represent. Now, fortunately, they intervened and no, you got to talk to the agent.
Right.
But what he kept saying was the county approved it.
Right.
Was the county or city one? But whatever, he said the county. He said, no, the county approved these shingles. But see, you were a step ahead.
Right.
What had you done?
I'd already called the county because I know in new construction, roofing is not a part of the inspection process. We do the foundation, we do heating and air, electrical and plumbing. And so even in the code book, there is no section that says this is how you install a roof. So I knew he had told a lie right from the beginning. So, you know, this age of technology, hey Siri, call such and such building department. And I spoke to the guy and he clearly said, we do not inspect roofs in this county. So
we caught that building superintendent. And the reason why that's important, because the builder's warranty is for a year. The fact that the shingles were not applied correctly voided the manufacturer's warranty.
Correct.
And see, that's something we would have never known had you not done that inspection.
Exactly.
You find all kind of crazy things, don't you?
All the time.
Talk to us about home inspections. How do you find a good, I had somebody send me a text message the other day and said, how do I find a good home inspector? What should we look for?
Okay, so number one, you want to make sure that they're certified, that they have taken some type of training, because Georgia requires none. Georgia requires none. So anybody can walk out today and say, hey, I'm a home inspector, and there's no way to stop them from inspecting.
So you're saying that I could get my car and put a sign on the side of it and say, Ann's home inspection, and there's no licensure, no nothing, no?
Nothing.
Now, we are talking to a national audience, so we do want to make sure that they understand this is Georgia.
Georgia.
Do you know of any other states that do require it, or is that pretty much?
There are 20 states that have no license. Georgia just happens to be one. Now, everybody around us has a license. Florida, North and South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, but there are 20 that do not.
Okay. So what else should we look for?
You would want to probably look for years of service. You know, I was new at one point. We don't have a problem with people being new, but I need to know that you're trained as an inspector, because we get a lot of handymen and contractors and people who flip houses. Well, I'm an inspector too. Not technically, you're a maintenance man, you know. Not, I mean, nothing wrong with a maintenance man,
Right.
but I had that today. The guy was like, well, I'm a maintenance man, so I know the same stuff. I'm just here to watch you. Okay. So we just want to make sure they're trained as inspectors and not other professions.
Okay. One thing that you always say, that when you go out to inspect a home, the home buyer will come up and ask some questions of you, and you have to make it very clear that you are not the real estate agent. You know,
Yes.
what are types of things that, you know, when you do a home inspection? So first of all, do you even want the buyers there?
We don't mind them being there. So what we've learned to do now is just set expectations. When I get here, I'm going to inspect A, B, and C. Allow me to go through this, because if you keep pulling me away to other items, I may miss something. But normally we prefer they come at the end. We do the overview, the summary, and then they can ask questions at that point. But I stay in my lane. So I'm not going to tell them whether or not to buy the home. I'm not going to tell them if it's good schools in the area. Do you know about crime? No, I don't, because I don't live over here. You know what I'm saying? So I stay in my lane, which is the home.
Okay. Okay. So I understand that you brought with you today some slides that you're going to go through that is going to illustrate
Yes, ma'am.
why people need a home inspector.
Exactly.
And I've seen this presentation many times. I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to call this Home Inspection Adventures. All right. So number one, first slide. First thing we want to talk about is we do not want large trees near the home. As you know, in new construction, no trees in their homes anymore. The roots will damage the home, and then most importantly, the trees can fall on the home. So we want to keep the trees away from the home. Number two, this slide here, the reason we tell people to get home inspections is because you do not know how people have maintenance or had any type of upkeep on the home. This home here has a sagging roof. Somebody actually lives in this home, still lives in this home. This is downtown. And they come home every day to this home without repairing it. So I don't know what you did or didn't do to the home before I got here. So you want to get it inspected. You want to know what you're buying. This here is a vent on the roof. It's deteriorated, and I can see that from the ground. We also use the drone, but more importantly, I'm going into the attic and I'm looking at the moisture stains that are showing up. So moisture is now starting to come into the home, which is eventually going to be a problem. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a lady buy a house online from an auction on a Friday, and they told her if she bought it within 24 hours, they would drop the price $10,000. and she bought it online from New York and moved here. They drove down from New York. They sent one of the big pods down. They drove down in, I don't know, a F-250 camper on the back. She called me maybe Tuesday and called and said, can you do a home inspection? Went through all the questions. She said, well, I already own the home. I said, okay. So I went and did the inspection. The entire attic was as white as these letters on my shirt with mold. The entire attic, I'm talking about mold, up and down, both sides. And I said, ma'am, did you not look at this home? She said, online. So the $10,000 that they saved you, quote unquote, you're about to spend more than that in this attic. So I'm telling people every day, and we even, posting like on social media, just because you waive the inspection doesn't mean something's not wrong with the home.
So one of the purposes, like I said, if a buyer is going to buy the house, you're not going in pointing out any defects or things of that to keep them from buying it, as much as you want to make them aware that if you buy this house, these are potential problems.
Yes. Or problems that are already there. Things you just don't know about.
And see, the thing is that if the home buyer has the home inspected, then it allows now the realtor to write up an amendment for the seller to address repairs. We can't do, any listing agent is going to want to see that home inspector's report before they even have that discussion with the seller of the home. So that's important. I regret that. That's a health hazard.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they want to skip it because they want to get the property. And then you have stuff like this where this chimney has an opening on it. We have live animals get in. I run just like everybody else, so I don't catch nothing, trap nothing, I don't run nothing down, so I just leave it as is. But we run across stuff all the time. And that's one of the things about trees hanging over the home. They give access to critters to the home, because they're going to smell the food you're cooking and, Ann's biscuits. So, they trying to make their way in the house. But this is what we're looking at. This is the stuff we're dealing with. And believe it or not, people lie. People lie all the time. Because there is no way you did not hear that in your attic, or the squirrels, or the rats, or all the stuff we find. And it's like, you've heard this. But then on the seller's disclosure, have you had any? No.
Well, I think that's why you said that. Let's park here a minute, because I think about a client that I had. You did the home inspection. They bought the home, but afterwards they wound up finding out that there were rodents behind a dishwasher. When the client wound up having somebody come in to try to correct some of the problems, they pulled the dishwasher out and noticed the back of the wall had been cut, and that some repairs were done back there that was not on the seller's disclosure. The first thing my client said to me is, but I had the home inspection. But you said something that people need to understand. You don't pull out appliances.
Right.
Because had you pulled out the appliance, but that is not something a home inspector would do. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but people need to know that, because it's very easy, if they wind up finding an issue with a home after it's been inspected, to feel that the inspector has not done their job.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we try and take pictures of all areas of the home to show you this was the condition when we were there. They took the refrigerator. The refrigerator was there when we were there. I remember that home you're talking about. So, but we deal with that all the time, that people come in and they forget that there was a large rug on the floor, so there's no way we saw the wood rot under the carpet because we didn't pull the carpet up, so those type of things. So that is absolutely correct. And all of this is stuff that I've seen live, the snakes, the rodents, everything. So unless you're going into the attic and searching the home like us, you would want it inspected. Now here, this attic here has no insulation. For all of our fans out there of renovations and that great HGTV, renovations are our worst inspections every day.
Really?
They are worse than the regular home. I would rather buy grandma's 1978 home that she didn't touch than a renovation, because they make so many mistakes. They mess up so many things. I would just rather buy it in its raw form and do it myself before I buy it from somebody else.
Now, and that's important, because we have a lot of investors who are buying homes and they're flipping, or they're renovating and flipping these homes. But don't they have to abide by current code to do that? Don't they need permits to do that?
They're supposed to get permits.
So you're
Supposed to.
you're saying something then to a potential buyer of a home that has been rehabbed. They can check, or they need to check to see if. See, nowadays there's such a shortage of homes. People don't care. They want a house.
That's right. That's right.
And they're impatient, and as long as they can get a house. But you wind up going. It's almost like buying a lemon, a car that's a lemon. It's more headache in the end. So when they're doing these rehabs, it should be permitted.
Yes.
But in most cases, you're saying that's not the case.
That's right. So, and then here's the hustle. All right. So when you pull a permit, you're supposed to put it in the little white box, put it on your front yard. So I've been going to renovations. They pulled the permit from the county. It has plumbing. There's supposed to be a signature that somebody checked it. Electrical, signature, ... They'll pull the permit, stick it in the box, finish the home, and it has no signatures on it.
So it hasn't been inspected.
Nobody ever came and checked it. But having the permit box out in the front yard, as the county people may pass by or neighbors are paying attention, it keeps them from calling on you.
Boy, that is a hustle.
Yeah.
So if a person is going to buy a rehab and they may see the little stuff, they need to get out and take a look and see if there's some signatures there.
Yeah, or have the realtor have them, the seller provide it to you that this has been checked. Because I did one where I live in our county, and I was going through it and I was like, okay, this isn't right. I kept looking at certain things, but everything had been remodeled. The very next day, the county came by and stuck a big red sign on it and said, stop work. I knew it because I was like, this is too many things wrong for this to have been permitted.
And there's no way that's caught? A buyer is able to go through the whole purchase process without that being caught?
Because nobody asked for it.
You need a home inspector.
In all the homes you've sold, when has a mortgage company or somebody ever asked you for permits?
But I'm thinking with a rehab.
So if I'm downtown and I'm on the corner, around the corner, and I'm rehabbing this house and nobody sees me, and I put a sign up in the yard and it's selling for $3.99 and we got a buyer, what's the problem?
And see, that's something that even as realtors we need to be aware of. In many cases, our clients in today's market are going to say, that's all right, I want to buy it anyway.
Exactly.
But at least we have a responsibility for at least informing them.
Exactly. Yeah, because I'm talking about, this was $1 million home that had been built brand new on Memorial Drive. And the permit box, no signatures. And I called the agent. I said, you need to check on this. I said, because it's too many things wrong in this house, $1 million home, for it to be checked. And when she checked, nobody had been out there. So we're checking stuff that, people just don't know to check. No insulation here. Now, this is perfect example. Look at the brand new wiring in this attic. Bright yellow, right out of your local hardware store. And the attic had no insulation. So it moved in, all the granite countertops, the hardwood floors, everything was ooh, ah.
No insulation?
None. That's how the attic was. That's why I took the picture. The wires were exposed, but there's nothing up there. So your air's gonna come on, it's gonna get hot. The heat's gonna come on, it's gonna get cold. Your bill is gonna be ridiculous and you're not gonna know why.
And the homeowner had no idea.
And what happened was I did a home inspection for a young lady who was buying. She saw how well we went through the home and she asked, could we come to her house? She already lived there and this is what she had. And she said, I ain't never been up there. And that's why your son was always cold and always hot in his room. So we do get into the crawl spaces to make sure it's properly supported.
Now the appraisers don't do all this.
Appraisers only have to go head and neck into a crawl space or attic. Just enough that they can look in there, take pictures, and then they can come out. We're going in. And then stuff like this where, it's not properly supported. I was at this house, all the young ladies were upstairs and it was ooh, ah, and girl, look at this, and girl, this so nice. And I was like, girl, y'all about to be down here in a minute because the house ain't supported. So Just too many issues, too many things. This is the one with the mold, just mold growing everywhere. And nobody's gonna tell you that. Because they're trying to make the sale. They know it's there, but they're trying to make the sale. And then this basement was full of mold. Now, when it comes to mold has to be cleaned by professionals. The EPA says if it's an area 3 feet by 3 feet, you can clean it yourself. But once it starts growing on walls and floors and doors, we have to have professionals. Bleach? No, ma'am.
I knew
I know, but that was a good one though. But that's what everybody wants to do. Yeah, but mold has to be cleaned by professionals. I had a lady who wanted to sue a contractor because she paid him like $4,000 to come in and clean mold. And in 3 weeks, it grew right back because they come in and wipe it left and right. They put it in the air. And once it lands, it starts to grow again. Not knowing that you've got to wrap the home in plastic and have a negative air to pull it out the house, all of those type of things. So people don't know that. I had a young lady at one of our home buying seminars. I did an inspection for a renter.
Oh.
She said, I'm having so many problems. Would you inspect my apartment? The guy upstairs, his water heater or bathtub or something overflowed. It collapsed into her apartment. She came home from work, water, stuff everywhere. The maintenance people came and cleaned it, but they didn't get the moisture out. 3 days later, she comes home, mold's growing on her furniture.
Wow.
Her shoes, her pocketbooks, her clothes. She calls the maintenance office. They send somebody down there. The maintenance man told her, it's not black mold, so it's okay. I got mold growing, but it's not black, so it's okay. So I went, did the inspection for it, did the mold test. And then when I wrote the letter, official, signature, blah, 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 lab results. Well, Mrs. Jones, apartment B just became available across the hall. So we'll go ahead and move you.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was an excellent point. Change your air filters. You know, all y'all out there, change them air filters. Because once they get dirty, they'll mess up your system if you don't change them. All right, so we'll keep going. Dryer fires. We have 17,000 dryer fires in America every year because people don't clean their dryer vents. Now, we are going beyond what maintenance people do, contractors do. I know a contractor who makes $40,000 a month and he will not touch an electric panel because he don't know electricity. He'll build you the best deck you've ever seen, add an addition to your house. And every time he have an electrical problem, he called me. Oh, I don't mess with no electricity. This man made $40,000 a month. So just because you know about houses doesn't mean you know everything about the house. So.
Now, with regards to codes, because as a home inspector, you have to stay on top of the codes.
Yes, ma'am.
And how, so, I mean, that's a lot, especially I'm learning after having built a house. Electrical codes, for example, change quite often, even between, you know, conversations between my builder and the electrician, just listening. So how does a home inspector stay on top of all of that if you don't even have to be licensed?
That's the other part of how to know if you got a good home inspector. Are they a part of an organization? Home inspection organization, that's gonna make you get continuing education. I'm a part of one that if you do not do it, they're gonna take your membership. You're a part of the Atlanta Board of Realtors or somebody. So why would you want a home inspector that's not a part of an organization when you gotta be a part of one? And so our organization makes us, and then because I have higher certifications, those code certifications, they are so serious about those code certifications, they will randomly audit you. I got audited last month. This is the national organization. And they said, please send us all your continuing education for the last 2 years to confirm that you have been keeping up. I sent them about 4 years worth. About 20 minutes later, they said, oh, you good.
But you know what? That's important, especially for people who are buying new construction.
Yes.
Because new home construction will allow you, the contract says that they will allow a home inspector, but he or she has to have certain credentials.
Correct.
And before they allow you to come out and inspect a new home, you have to, which you do, I have you email all of your credentials.
Correct.
And so they're wanting to make sure that if your realtor is going to be submitting request for certain repairs, it is from somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Right.
And who at least is aware of the current codes.
Yeah, because the building codes change every 3 years.
Okay.
And if you don't keep up with that, you'll be lost.
Okay.
And so that's where the renovations go bad. And so when I come out to a renovation, I'm like, well, all of these things are wrong and these things are wrong and you should have this. Well, I ain't never heard that before. Don't mean it's not right. Just like with our builder. Mm-hmm. We're looking at the roof. This is wrong, sir. Oh, no, it's installed properly. No, it's not.
And you know they redid that roof. I don't know if I told you the end of the story, but they redid the shingles on that.
And it was interesting that happened to us because 2 years later it happened again to me. Not the same builder, but this builder was better. He went out there, he realized he made a mistake. It was the third house on the street. I called the agent just like I did with you. She called him, but I went ahead and called the county. Now this county was a female inspector over the county. She said, I know that builder and I'm coming to look at it. The builder said, I'm gonna change it. Mm-hmm. And called the realtor and said, come out on Thursday, we will have replaced the roof. Third house on the street. Agent goes out on Thursday, they replaced the roof on the fourth house on the street. They replaced the roof on the wrong house.
Oh my.
On the wrong house.
You are aware that a lot of builders downplay the importance or the need to have a home inspector.
Yes.
You are aware that me and my husband built a home recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it was real interesting because I told the builder we were going to have it inspected. He felt it wasn't necessary. It's a new home. He gives me all of his reasons why we really didn't need to pay a home inspector.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, listen, if you're going to pay them, they're going to find something. They're going to find, and that's what all the builders say. They're going to find something. They have to show that they're earning their money. But it was interesting. You came, you did the report. We asked him to make the corrections. He said, see, I told you they're going to find something. You really don't need to do this. You really don't need to do that. And I just looked at him. I said, he didn't charge me. That was a gift. Mm-hmm. It was a friend. And so I guess I just wanted to make that point is that is not necessarily the case. You don't take this attitude that, no, I'm not going to use a home inspector because the only reason he's coming is for the money and the builder. And that's the mentality that a lot of builders have. Mm-hmm. I really like telling them that. I said, no, he didn't charge me. So that you got to get rid of that argument, make the corrections. And you would have fought the house based on what we were paying for. Some of the things you found should not have been an issue.
Exactly.
But like you said, people build them. Mm-hmm. And mistakes can be made.
Right. And then this is one house versus you got 40 being built at the same time. There's no way you can supervise that. Mm-hmm. No way. And that's why we go in homes and outlets are installed wrong and doors don't close and plumbing, the hot and cold are backwards and the roof's on. You can't oversee that. And the thing I tell the investors, and I teach investors, and when I get to go and teach these seminars to the investors, I said, you cannot oversee what you do not understand. You are a 20-year school teacher with $170,000 in your 401k. You're pulling money out to give it to a contractor to renovate a home, and you have no clue of what he's doing. You cannot oversee that. So when I come in and say the electrical's wrong, the plumbing's wrong, and this is wrong, well, I paid him, but you didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
So that's why I don't trust rehabs, because who oversaw the contractor?
Right.
And sometimes they're not even contractors, it's just elevated handyman.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's a good point. Okay.
Yes. So here, galvanized pipes. These are old pipes, and I found this in a renovation. These pipes were used in the 50s and 60s. They should not be in a home anymore because they rust. But nevertheless, we found them in a renovation. And the water looks like tomato soup, brand new granite countertops, backsplash. The entire home had been renovated, but they left these bad pipes. So this is what you get when you turn on the tub. This is where nobody inspected.
Wow.
So you renovate, it's on the market for 300 plus.
And that's the water.
And that's the water. So if you waive your inspection, you can't call Miss Terry when you go home to take your first bath and you end up orange. You know what I'm saying? You bought it. You waived the inspection, which we would have caught that.
And in this market, we have a lot of clients who are wanting to waive whatever they need to be able to, whatever they can just to get a home. They want a house so bad they will waive an inspection. The investors waive inspections. But the thing is, a lot of times people don't realize is that, you know, these investors do have people that come out and inspect their homes. Okay.
Yep. And with the investors, not to speak bad of all investors, because some of them are good. Some of them get the inspections, look at our reports, and they be like, okay, I'm gonna fix these 3 things. They fix enough. They're like, man, I ain't, you know, that they can do that on their own. It's still wrong, but I'm gonna fix this. So, yeah, you need to get it inspected. And then, of course, cast iron pipes. These are all pipes that rust from the inside out. Yes, ma'am.
What is it? The polybutylene?
Yes.
I'll talk that, and that's the one where I had the issue with the client with the rodents behind it. So talk about this polybutylene pipes.
So polybutylene was used from 1978 to 1995. It's a grayish blue pipe, and it has little copper rings on it. And the pipe goes bad from the inside out because of the chlorine that we use in the water. There's no fixing it. It's just a defective product. And the reason I tell people that up front is because your first day plumber, if he comes to your home and you have a leak, he's gonna sell you a replumbing job. Oh, the home inspector should have told you got polybutylene. Just Google it. And when you Google it, the company who made it got sued for $950 million in a class action lawsuit. Oh, the inspector didn't tell you that? Oh man, you need to replumb your whole house. Yeah, so.
Well, you know, they now have included that on seller's disclosures.
Really?
I don't know about other states, but in Georgia, the seller has to acknowledge if there's polybutylene pipes. A lot of people don't know what that means, but it has to be disclosed.
Okay, that's good
so
to know.
Yeah, that is very interesting. The other thing I think that you pointed out to one of my clients, and she backed out of the contract, was about a particular siding. And you know, we don't have to necessarily say names of all of it, but it was a product. Do you remember what I'm talking about? What was the issue with that siding? Why is that important? I mean, you would think, I think it was a cement siding, but there was a class action lawsuit there as well.
It was before the cement. It was actually just a press board. I'm just gonna say press board siding, where they just take pieces of wood and press it together. Okay. As long as you keep it painted, it's good. But as soon as it gets wet, it starts to swell up and it crumbles. And so they had a class action lawsuit, and that's why she didn't want it.
But see, that a lot of people wouldn't know that.
No.
You know, she sold a house, and it was a really nice house. It was a perfect house for her. I was so, you know, I was disheartened that she didn't get it because I know she really liked the interior of it. But by having you come out and doing that home inspection, I think we had discussion about what it would cost to have to replace all of that. And she decided that she would not move forward with that purchase of that home. And that's why home inspection is so important. It isn't just to say, oh yeah, you have all of these defects or all of these issues, but it will help you to make an informed decision about whether or not it's even worth it to move forward.
Exactly. So on the side of the water heater, there's a valve that keeps the water heater from getting too hot or building up too much pressure. Because it is a metal component installed in water, it will rust. And if this valve does not open up, it's called a temperature and pressure relief valve, the water heater can literally explode and take off like a rocket. And we do have on record, you know, where water heaters have exploded in people's homes, in schools. It is a deadly explosion.
Now, who would have ever thought about a water heater exploding?
Nobody.
But so when you go in, you check that valve?
Yes, ma'am.
And if the valve does not?
If all we're checking for is to move, because if it rusts in place, then it's not going to open. Just like you open up a can of soda, and if that thing gets stuck, then the pressure continues to build, the water heater could potentially
And is that typically an older home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Older water heaters. And that's a real life one. And you see the police tape around the home where it literally exploded, went through those people's roof and destroyed the garage. So here we have what's called asbestos duct tape. Now, asbestos is that stuff that causes mesothelioma. You know, the commercial, the 1-800, we can help you. You know, that commercial. But if we got mesothelioma or we got asbestos duct tape on the ducts, we can now start blowing it throughout the home. And that could be a potential issue, and nobody knows it. Nobody knows why we're having problems breathing or whatever, but we want you to know that. Now, this is our own little issue here in our local area in Georgia. This is a flexible gas line going in the furnace, and our city, the city of Atlanta, does not like it. Atlanta Gas Light does not like it, because it will vibrate up against the furnace and put a hole in it and cause a gas leak. So if they come out to your home and see that, even if you have closed on it, they will not turn the gas on. Yes. It actually happened to us at one of our churches one time. We bought a church and we went to turn the gas on and the gas company said no, because we had that. Yeah, so we've had to let people know about that. Now, getting to some of the fun stuff. Now, we do what's called thermal imaging. For those of you all who may not know about thermal imaging, if you're old enough to know about the movie Predator, the Predator, you know, he's an alien with dreadlocks. Okay, don't worry about it. So anyway, he would see heat, it would be bright yellow. Cold things would be purple. And we use a camera to scan the home to look for problems. This home here, the AC was on. When I'm scanning the home with the thermal camera, everything should show up like a purple or blue. And what you see here in the picture is there's purple and blue on the ceiling. The contractor insulated the ceiling. He didn't insulate the walls. Now, all of us have been in this room before. In this room, this is the room in the house where the heat is on. It's still cold. The air is on. It's still hot because it's not properly insulated. And that's what the camera shows us.
Now, is that something most home inspectors do?
They're doing more now. But it's still, I'd probably say 50-50. Yeah, but not everybody does it. And then these are things we see with our regular eye, the electric panel, but then you can see breakers that are overheating. And then... Oh,
your imager, so it takes pictures of that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what, okay.
It will take pictures of it. Yep. And then it will also help us find defects. So missing insulation, plumbing problems, electrical problems, and then it'll also help us find toilet problems. Because we know in the toilet water is supposed to be cold. So if I take a picture with the infrared camera, it should show up blue. But this one here, we got a nice bright yellow.
This is a home you inspected?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. This is the master bathroom. What you see with your regular eyes on the right, what you see on the left is at the top left corner tells you the temperature of the water. It's 127 degrees.
Hot water is what's filling up every time they flush the toilet.
Yes, ma'am. The plumber hooked up the hot water to the toilet instead of the cold. And so even if you just use the bathroom when you go to work, come home from work, and before you go to bed, 3 times a day, 2 gallons of flush, you know, that's
every day.
Lot of water. Yeah. So you're doing 6-8 gallons a day over a 30-day billing cycle. You flush 200, 300 gallons of hot water, your bill is going to be astronomical. And you still got to get it fixed. Because you waived the home inspection.
Right.
And you didn't know.
Right.
And somebody should have told you.
Right.
But you didn't get it inspected. So doesn't mean it wasn't there. You just waived the inspection. In closing, a couple of things we all should do today. If you have a smoke detector that is beeping, if it's beeping, beep, beep, that means change me, please. Because people don't change them. I was just talking to a realtor today. I said, change the batteries. She was like, oh, I just get tired of it beeping. Change the battery. If you have a smoke detector in the kitchen, we do not put smoke detectors in kitchens because they become a nuisance and people take them down. If you have any type of gas appliance in the home, you should have a carbon monoxide detector. So gas furnace, gas water heater, gas, anything, carbon monoxide detector. So we talked about changing the filters. Now, this fourth one here is deadly. I don't think I've ever shared this at the seminars, but I have a friend who is a fire captain, and they've had 2 families die in the last 4 to 5 years from double keyed deadbolts. So you can buy them at your hardware store. If you have to have a key to unlock a door to leave the home, that is a fire hazard. If you have to have a key to unlock a door to leave a home, it is a code violation. The building code says you cannot use those on a new home. So I see them on renovations a lot. New construction, you can't use them, but people use them. And so what happened was we had our fire captain come and talk to us about fire safety as home inspectors. They had 2 families die because the father came home with his keys, locked the door, set them in the kitchen, hung them up. The fire started in the kitchen. So everybody went to the burglar door with the key missing. You're not getting out. So they got there and the people, had passed at the door.
I've had that before where we double keyed them, but I didn't realize it's a code violation.
Yeah, it really is. Okay. The code says that you cannot have anything, a window or any type of lock that requires special knowledge or keys. Like, you know, if you just bump it like this, it'll open. No, we can't just bump it like that. It's got to open. Yeah. So, yeah, it is a hazard. And then burglar bars, same thing. People get trapped inside the home.
Now, you've talked to us about why we should get a home inspection. And I have to tell you, anybody who listens to your seminar, I mean, for you to go through your whole spill, and it's like I said, I've heard it over and over and enjoy hearing it. They always come away saying, no, I'm having a home inspection. No. And so I'm so glad that you do take the time to, I know you speak at a lot of groups and you're in demand for your speaking as well as for your services, but it's really needful. You know, it's really people need to hear this and they need to understand, you know, they must do that. But of course, for a lot of people, there's that cost factor. Typically, how much does a home inspection cost? Can you give us a range?
Average cost in Atlanta is $350 for your basic home inspection.
Okay.
And it can go up depending on square footage, age, location, and then if you get additional services like mold testing, radon.
Okay.
But $350 you should expect to pay.
Okay. And you know, so funny, I had a client say to me once, well, I know a home inspector who will do it for $275, you know, or who will do it for less, you know. And I said, okay. They wound up using you. We just had to have some conversation, and I said, listen, that's one thing that you know, and I'm not saying it has to be you, but the mere fact that you can get it done cheaper is not indicative of you getting a quality home inspection. And when you give your report, there are pictures that will go along with everything, every defect or every problem that you have found in the home. Many people have financial questions and they don't know where to get answers. Now you do. We want to be your resource by providing you with educational information in a way you can easily understand from people you can trust. I invite you to send your questions to askannanything.com. Your questions form the basis of our show. Additionally, we offer live Zoom educational classes on home buying and credit that you will want to take advantage of. Remember, home buying starts with planning. For more information or to register for our course, go to askann.com. Now, if you enjoyed today's show, please click like and submit. I look forward to seeing you next time.